Okay, now when it comes to making offers, very simple rule is never make the first one. Always try and put your counterpart into a position where they make the first offer. This is actually the beginning of the game. Okay, so when I'm talking to you about this, what I'd like to do is to ask you to reflect on situations where maybe you have negotiated in the past. Typically, people will go into a negotiation and say things like, this is what we want. So they're probably all pumped up on the way to the negotiation. They're thinking, okay, this is what we want. This is the price that we want to pay. This is exactly what we want. This is the ideal scenario. And this happens a lot, especially with the more junior negotiators. They'll be maybe a bit nervous. So don't expect everybody that you're negotiating with to be a master of negotiation. And this is something that a lot of negotiators don't understand, is that the person that they're negotiating with might not have had great negotiation training. So don't give the first offer. Encourage them to set their terms. So they will say things like, yeah, this is what we're hoping for. This is what we expect, or even we're looking to. And now this is probably their BATNA. When they say any of those, they're probably giving you their BATNA. So that's what they want, but that is not your beginning negotiation position. Okay. You want their WATNA. There's no point in bargaining with what they want, what their best alternative is. You want to go for the worst alternative and work backwards from that, especially if they're a paying buyer themselves. And also, depending on the situation, and usually in a business negotiation, obviously you want to maximize profits, reduce time, cost, etc. So people in business negotiation will often be more focused on their WATNA rather than their BATNA. Okay, so it's great to have their BATNA. You've got a beginning there. That's fantastic. From that position, then engage in a little bit more discussion, asking opening questions, asking why particularly they want what they've decided on. Ask as many questions as possible. Again, still don't give your never give your final offer or your final limit, because as soon as you do, if they're a tough negotiator, if they're a good negotiator, that's the sign there that you're going to accept the deal as long as they can improve on it. And that's pretty much what the WATNA is. So the WATNA, for example, something they might say is, okay, then we'll just have to, maybe stay with their current supplier. Okay, so maybe you want to supply to this company and they might just say, okay, well, we'll just have to stay with our current supplier. And that is their worst alternative. Obviously, it's their worst, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't be in the room with you. Okay, so work forwards from that one. So don't give your first offer. Never give your offer until you've heard theirs. Ask as many questions as you possibly can, and then try and narrow that gap between the BATNA and the WATNA. A great way to do this is to ask them things like, so what do you like most about the service that you currently have? Or even say, what do you like most about the services that we provide? Talk about the services, talk about the benefits, talk about the future collaboration, rather than just getting straight into the price. I'm going to talk to you a bit about tradables later, which can sort of fine tune those slight discrepancies. But as long as you stick to that rule, even if they directly ask you, what's your final price? Never give them a final price. If they ask you a question, for example, what is your final price? Just say to them, well, I'd like to discuss with you a little bit more about the benefits that we can provide to you and how much benefit that would be to you. Whatever you say, however you want to turn it around, but keep pushing it back until you can establish their WATNA. And the WATNA would be the major pain points. So keep focusing on things like, so why is it that you're actually looking for a new supplier? What is it that you're looking from us and why? Ask them questions about every specific detail. And by doing that, you'll find their major pain points and also the things that will give them the maximum pleasure. And from either of these, when you know their pain points, when you know their pleasure points, then you can get into a better discussion about price and terms later on. See you in the next slide.